A drug used in medication abortions, the most common method to end a pregnancy, is at the center of the latest legal battle over abortion access. Federal judges in Texas and Washington issued decisions that appear directly at odds with one another. One suspends approval of the drug Mifepristone by the Food and Drug Administration. The other prevents the FDA from restricting access to the drug in some states. Laura Kusisto is a national legal affairs reporter and leads abortion coverage for the Journal. She explains what the decisions mean and what comes next.
A Texas judge said that the FDA had improperly approved a drug known as Mifepristone. He suspended that approval, saying that the FDA hadn't adequately considered the safety of the drug. They'd used the wrong procedure for approving the drug. The FDA had approved the drug under a pathway that's used to approve drugs to treat life-threatening illnesses. And the judge said most of us would not understand pregnancy to be a serious life-threatening illness. He also said that the FDA had not adequately taken into account possible concerns about hemorrhage, about infection, about mental trauma that women could suffer. So this ruling is really significant because it affects abortion access, not just in Texas, but around the country. If the judge's ruling does go into effect, that would mean that the pill could be pulled from the market. And so this is really kind of one of the first developments we've seen that has potential nationwide significance since Roe v. Wade was overturned.
It's completely out of bounds what the judge did.
Journalists and lawyers were all still digesting this really kind of blockbuster ruling out of Texas. We got this other really quite unexpected ruling from a judge in Washington state. It appears that the judge there is saying that the FDA can't take additional action at the moment to further constrain access to the abortion pill. Now, that ruling only applies in states that were parties in the lawsuit, but in those states, there's like a real tension between the rulings of these two judges. There's a concern that this could really destabilize the drug approval process in general if you have judges potentially second-guessing the FDA. What I will say as a caveat to that is that, this is abortion. This is not a typical drug, an uncontroversial drug. This is something that has been at the center of a political firestorm in this country for 5 decades. It's not a perfect analogy for other drugs.
It is contrary to what makes for good public health policy to allow courts and politicians to tell the FDA what it should do.
The Biden administration moved quickly to appeal the ruling. They filed something with the Fifth Circuit, the Court of Appeals, asking for them to stay the ruling. And they've asked for them to make a decision by Thursday. That could go one of two ways. They can give the Biden administration what they want. They can put this ruling on hold, or they can not. They can allow it to go into effect. And then in that instance, I think you're very likely going to see the Biden administration turn around very quickly and file an appeal with the Supreme Court.
We stand by the FDA's approval of Mifepristone, and we are prepared for a long legal fight.